you've got to be happy. That's the thing. Like, you've got to really reconcile against everything that you're doing right now against happiness. Reconcile what you're doing right now. Is it making me happy? How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Welcome everyone to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I'm the CEO of Smith & Sons here in Canada, and welcome. Thanks for joining me. Hey, as usual, we want to provide value, and certainly part of that value delivery is that we want to be able to help you out in some way, both from an information standpoint. I'm not sure you get too much entertainment, but certainly if you've got questions or anything that concerns you with regards to running a building company or anything in that sphere, feel free to drop us a line. The best email you can get me on is max@businessforbuilders.ca, or you could just drop a comment below and we'll get back to that as promptly as we can. And of course, like and subscribe. We would really appreciate your pat on the back. Right, today, I want to talk about a couple of things. But, I'm always really wanting to talk about information. And like I've said before, I assume that I'm chatting with general contractors for the most part. However, if you're a sub, or you're a trade, then this probably applies to you as well. Matter of fact, I'm 99% sure that it will apply to you as well. So wherever you are and wherever you're listening to this from, then I'm sure it will be appropriate. So where I'm going to kick off, obviously what I talk about a lot is just my personal experience. I run an organization here. We have 5 staff. And so there's, we have, 9 operating franchisees. And so, there's always something going on. It's very much a human business. And I might have talked about that in previous podcasts that, really, if it wasn't for humans, my life would be easier. Unfortunately, if it wasn't for humans, my life would be less fulfilled. And so, I think that's about not wanting it to be sort of better or different, but, I'm focused on becoming a better operator, a better human. And so today is definitely down that alley. That's the rabbit hole we're going to go down. So today I'm going to talk about overwhelm. I'm going to talk about procrastination. I'm going to talk about systemization, and I'm going to talk about momentum. And, really those things, as I sort of sit there and I think about myself operating as a business coach or a mentor to a lot of guys for the most part who are, younger in the business than what I am. These are the kinds of things that I analyze. They're not got anything to do with construction. So when we're talking to general contractors all the time, we talk about systems and we talk about, construction methodology and things like that. But today, what I'm trying to deal with, and I think I'm starting to lean towards the human because it's ironic that, I can have all different kinds of guys within our organization, and some drive it faster and harder than others. And then there's some guys that are just content to not go as hard and fast and louder and prouder. And, that's just an individual journey. So wherever you are is okay. I talk about myself as being a bit of a late bloomer. It was my mid-40s before I got this gig, and yet really up until then I'd been trading as a contract carpenter and a builder. So the first one I'm going to chat about is overwhelm. I see this. Oh crikey! The emotional, like I've talked about before, and if you're watching the video, I'm basically saying when emotion goes up, your ability to make good decisions goes down. So imagine if you're listening to this on a podcast, my left hand is raised up, that's emotion. My right hand is down, that's your ability to make good decision. We have to be able to take the emotion out, and I've talked about this before, and the reason I'm starting off with that is because that sense of overwhelm that you and I get, and don't be mistaken, I get it, on a fairly regular basis, whereby you think to yourself, I don't know whether I'm punch board or drilled. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. I don't know what I should do next. And it can be very debilitating. And so what I encourage you to do today is to keep in mind that the sense of overwhelm means your brain is getting better. Because you have got yourself into a situation where you've either got to sink or swim, and there's nothing wrong with backing away from that cold, hard face. And I talk about a lot of goals and priorities. If your goal's too high and it's destroying the things that are priorities in your life, whether it be your peace of mind or whether it be relationships, you've got to reset those goals, downgrade them a little bit for the moment, make sure you restore the priorities that are important, and then go ahead and maybe pursue that goal maybe 12 months from now, whatever the case may be. Bottom line is the sense of overwhelm will hit you regularly, especially if you're trying to climb the mountain. You know, I think I might have talked maybe on the podcast or some of our newest guys about Smith & Sons really being base camp. You want to climb Everest? It really starts at base camp. And so, you know, really what, you know, we're trying to do in this podcast is give you maybe a mental base camp whereby you can always refer back and you can then go and, you know, try and climb the mountain. If you have to come back and reset, then that's okay. But the sense of overwhelm, when you feel that, and, you know, I guess in some sort of bizarre way now, I look forward to the sense of overwhelm because it means my brain is getting better. Because if I'm not overwhelmed on a regular basis, does that mean that, you know, especially the fact I'm in startup. Now, once we get to 40,000 feet, maybe there will be less of the sense of overwhelm because, you know, the business is at, you know, a revenue mark that we were striving for. But whilst we are on the climb, then, you know, I think the sense of overwhelm, it tells me that you're making progress. Now, I've got to embrace that and say, okay, so my brain is getting better you know, it's getting more resourceful. It's showing more signs of initiative. It's the ability to respond in an unemotional, categoric way. And that being able to, I guess, feel the butterflies and do it anyway is what I'm getting at. And I think if we get overwhelmed and we see that as a negative, then our emotions go up and our ability to make good decisions goes down. So you've got to be careful on how you make the assessments. Anyone that's had that feeling of overwhelm and has that desire to then quit because it's got too hard, then you're really not doing yourself any favors. You've got to give yourself the opportunity to grow and to develop in your leadership position. Of course, you know, I speak about leadership fairly regularly as well. Now, what can happen as a byproduct of overwhelm is that you can what'll happen is it will paralyze you. So the sense of overwhelm will lead to procrastination. Now, when you procrastinate, it really means that you have either the paralysis of analysis or the fear factor has kicked in and it's now dominating your thought process. So, you know, it's a bit of a joke going around the office because I do the old woosah. And, you know, I even get lectured, like when I'm, you know, maybe overreacting slightly emotionally, I'll get the Max, woosah. And so, you know, I think you've got to figure out yourself and how you're going to deal with that. Now, the minute I feel overwhelmed, I immediately go to a non-emotional state and I say, means my brain is getting better because I'm starting to push more weight. You know, muscle, you're going to increase muscle mass by more resistance. So when I get more resistance, that leads to overwhelm. That gives me the opportunity to grow, which means my brain is getting better. And I all of a sudden be comfortable inside the comfort zone. So we've got to be pushing our limits on the comfort zone. It's just how business is built. You know, I think I talked about Elon Musk there a little while ago. And, you know, you know, when he launched that fourth operation, and you could see that the stress on him was just so tangible. You could just see the anxiety was just oozing out of him because if it didn't work, he didn't really want to think about the option of if it didn't work. And so, you know, with procrastination, you have to take massive action. If you want a massive result, you've got to take massive action. Now, I'm not talking about anything, you know, in size-wise. Whatever massive action represents in your life, that's what you've got to do. Now, if that means you've got to make that follow-up call because you've got 10 quotes out there and you haven't got an answer from any of the clients, right, you feel overwhelmed because you've got 10 clients with your quotes. You maybe have a sense of overwhelm because you haven't got enough work, and you've also got a sense of overwhelm because you know you're going to lose your good guys if you can't keep them busy. Now, if that's not a fairly typical scenario where you can feel overwhelmed as a builder or a general contractor, I don't know what is, but I'm pretty confident. Now, if you procrastinate, if you can't categorize the tasks and you keep putting off that which has to be done, what you're going to do is really undermine your own credibility in your own mind. Your self-talk is going to be negative, and it is essentially a downward spiral. So, how do we overcome? We want to. Procrastination is almost a byproduct of overwhelm. And we've talked about how that we want to get better because our brain is going to get better if we can push through that sense of overwhelm for the moment. We know that the negative impact can be procrastination, which then further negatively impacts our business going forward, and it is a downward spiral. So how do we combat that procrastination that's really, really a byproduct of overwhelm? And the way we do that is we systemize, And so the next thing I want to allude to is that systemization is almost the key to your success at some level. And it may not be, the key to your success for everything going forward on a massive level, but in your brain, every time that you make a move, you have to look at that and go, is that something I have to do? And if I'm going to do it, how do I solve that? So if we go back to our initial challenge, which is causing the overwhelm, which was I've got 10 clients with 10 quotes. I know I got a quote here from a guy a little while ago to add some extra CCTV to the front of the building. He gave me a quote 3 weeks ago, hasn't followed me up. So, this is what happens in real life. I know that I've done it, and I know that you've done it, and I know there's guys in my group that have done it, where they put out quotes and they don't follow up because of that, whatever, the overwhelm, the fear, all the above. Systemizing how you do. So what you do is important. Maybe a time management program is what you need. So I know that when I'm talking to general contractors, or I've got Bridget who's helping me with sales and support of franchisees right now, we know that there's certain days we don't make phone calls, and on those days we make phone calls, at a specific time, because we know that's when, the guys and gals that we're chatting with are going to be the most open and available. So we systemize our approach to the thing that gives us the sense of overwhelm. So let's say you're used to running you and another guy, and you got to hire 2 guys. Then what you're going to need is have an HR system to ensure that you're not overwhelmed because of that new staff that have come on. Conversely, you're also going to need to understand that you're going to need to systemize your sales process, because as you add more weight, systems is what helps you carry the weight. People within systems helps you move the business forward as well. So systemization could be something that you've heard. It's a bit of a cliche word, but I'm telling you, it's just the system is what enables me to build a business that literally started in 2016 as, hey Max, what do you think? Today being a multi-million-dollar business, having had 10 franchises through the system, now with 5 staff. And so I look at what we do today, and everything, we don't just go and do anything ad hoc. Everything has to be systemized in its approach. It has to have some sort of, accountability process built into it. What are we doing to ensure that we are following the systems? And the systems really give safety both to your staff or my staff, but also for the individuals that are operating within that system. They want to know what their role is and, what their objective is. So, the sense of overwhelm can be a natural byproduct of what we're doing in the way of business growth. The negative spin on that is then we react with a procrastinating type of attitude. We're just like, I'll get to that. We'll always find something to do that we're more comfortable with. I'm telling you right now, for me to go and knock up a house frame is way more comfortable than talk to you about franchising. It just is. Am I getting better at talking to general contractors like yourself about the franchise opportunity? Of course I am. But it's through a systemize. I remember when I first started back in 2016 and there was no system. So I would procrastinate because I'd feel this sense of overwhelm, and I would feel that I wasn't good enough to sell franchises, and the opportunity wasn't as good as what I thought it was. So you feel there's this sense of overwhelm, and then I would procrastinate. I just wouldn't make phone calls. And then, of course, it wasn't until such time, and it was because my drive to succeed, it's like I knew that I had to become better, that I start to systemize my approach. Now, what I've done, one layer on top of that again, is I thought, well, I can't spend the rest of my life spending as much time in franchise sales as what I've done. The opportunity come up for Bridget to come on board. So what I had to do then is sit down and systemize that approach. Otherwise, her joining forces or joining the team was actually going to become overwhelming to me, because I'm like, well, she's sitting there and I'm paying her and we're not producing results. So you can see how it is in a bit of a natural circle. So systemization can happen. Now, what we want to then do is, out the back of systemization, our goal is to create, as business owners, momentum. And so driving momentum within your business, momentum is hard to get and easy to lose. So if you've just gained momentum from a slapstick, ad hoc kind of shoot from the hip methodology, then it's highly likely that whatever momentum you've gained from that attitude and that approach, you potentially lose quickly as well. And so, the fact that momentum is super important to all of our businesses, you need to know that you're working towards gaining momentum. You need to know that you have hit a point of business momentum, And then you've got to ensure that because of that awareness, you don't lose the momentum. And so, I think out of the whole spiel between overwhelm, procrastination, systemization, and momentum, what you've got to do is develop those habits. So like I said, when I sell franchises, do I enjoy it any more today than what I did 4 or 5 years ago? Not necessarily. But, I think because of systems, it enables me to deal with overwhelm. It enables me to not procrastinate. And then, of course, because of the system, I can gain momentum. And so this year we want to improve our sales by 100%. Really, in closing, the benefit of getting all those things right in your own life, and understand this is not just pick it off the shelf and implement it and it works, right? You are dealing with you, and you know your fears, and you know the challenges, and you know maybe what you're doing is not making you happy. So you need to get out, you need to change. But what I would urge you to do is have a think about your situation, you as a person, your relationships outside of the business. You think about your business goals. Are they in alignment with your priorities? Are you destroying relationships? Are you becoming a toxic individual? Are you disappointing your staff? Are you pissing your staff off? Like, just do the audit. You've got to do the audit, and you've got to be honest, because at some point you're either going to live a lie, or you're going to man up, woman up, and face the issues, and then really look for the solutions. It's so easy for me to, I'm blessed with having, some great business partners, one of which I talk to every other day. And he's such a, polar opposite personality to myself. And it's great because I'm pretty rambunctious, I'm pretty bullish, and he's a bit of a calming influence. And I appreciate that. Out of everything that I've benefited from developing this brand and this business in North America, it's the fact that I've been able to do business, with Lee. And so, I think those, I get into habits where I know that I take off on a bit of a tangent, but it's that accountability. And so that's a bit of a side note. I think we've got to have someone we're accountable to. But if you get that all right, it really, you need to, I guess the idea is to build a business so we benefit. We talk to our guys about better lifestyle. We don't want builders, I've known a handful of old school builders that just literally work and they put their hard hat on every day, and they go to work until they go to hospital with an illness and never recover. It's like they just loved it so much, or they were just so ingrained in the habits that were created over time that they never did. Maybe they lost sight on really what they started out to do in the beginning. So really, guys and gals, you got to look at the reward. What is the reward that you're looking for? And I would say it's going to be more than just money. I think all of us carry with us regrets. There's things that if we had our time over again, we would do more, we would do it better, we would do it different, but really that's what makes up the tapestry of you and your life. The great thing is that what happened in the past doesn't have to reflect, or doesn't have to, determine what happens to you in the future either. And so, the reward might not be just financial, although, we're hoping that would be the case. The reward might be that, you restore some of those relationships, or you understand that smelling the roses along the way is actually as important as working like a dog and a ninja in your business. And that really is different. Gary V is Gary V. And if you don't follow Gary Vaynerchuk, you probably need to, maybe have a listen. Yeah, he might grind you the wrong way and you might not enjoy him, but certainly for me, I did enjoy his e-consult, or that virtual, business relationship, or his leadership that I got. But the point that I'm making is that, even for me with, the appreciation I have for his content, I don't see myself as him. I like to think I work hard. And maybe I do, work harder than the average bear. But I certainly, that guy, he's an anomaly. So you've got to self-analyze, and you've got to be happy. That's the thing. Like, you've got to really reconcile against everything that you're doing right now against happiness. Reconcile what you're doing right now. Is it making me happy? Now, does happiness mean it's got to be easier? Does it mean it's just going to come to you? No, it doesn't. I work 6.5 days a week almost, and I don't ever come in here and go, my life sucks and it sucks to be me. Not once. I really, I'm almost irresponsible at home because, I enjoy the challenge of driving the business. I love being accountable to my stakeholders, my franchisees, my staff, the brand, and also my business. But it's not like it's compromising my happiness. It actually adds to it. And so, you need to feel the overwhelm. If you're overwhelmed right now, that's okay. You need to understand that the feeling of overwhelm can lead to procrastination. To help you minimize the procrastination, you need to really involve system development or systemization. That will help you overcome those emotional feelings and the physical outworking of, having those emotions that are too high. And then, of course, your goal is to create momentum off the back of some habits, some positive habits that develop as you go through. Look, I hope that helps. I hope you get the reward that you deserve. I hope you find the happiness that you really, really deep down want. And if there's anything that we can do here at Business for Builders, we would love to, hear anything from you that we can, really involve ourselves in to help you sort of just take the next step. My name's Max. Go build a kick-ass business. See you on the next episode. Cheers.